Facilities Committee meeting. Today is Monday, September 8th, 2025. Can you verify that the meeting has been properly posted?
Yes, it has.
All right, moving into the next item in general business is the opportunity for public comment. Do we have anyone who signed up to speak?
We have none.
Okay. Moving into the action items for this evening, the first action item would be the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any questions or comments?
I move for the approval of the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Voigt, seconded by Mr. Harland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Passes 5-0. The next action item tonight is the approval of the vouchers. Did we receive any questions?
There were no questions this month.
No questions this month. Okay. Seeing no questions, are there any other comments for discussion items from the committee? Seeing none, I'd be looking for a motion.
I will move to approve the vouchers. Second.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Wad, seconded by Mr. Harland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Moving quickly then into our discussion or information items this evening. The first discussion item is our summer 2025 capital improvement projects.
Yeah, so tonight we have guest speakers. Kyle McCarthy, our maintenance manager, and Chad Caribou, our custodial manager. We've been doing this the last several years, come September, October, to kind of recap the work we've done this summer. There's a few projects that'll run into fall a little bit, but overall, I think it was a timely, good time to have the report. So I'll turn it over to Chad and Kyle, and we'll answer any questions you have as we go, and hopefully you'll find it informative.
First of all, thank you for having us tonight. It's always a great thing to be able to share the projects that we've completed over the summer and throughout the year to showcase everything that we've done. So I've shared this slide before last year. I just wanted to share with you the process that we have for identifying our capital improvement projects. We meet with all the building principals, custodial staff, and maintenance staff to kind of gather a feel of what everyone would like to have done and what needs to be done. That process is usually started in fall here, so actually starting in October we'll begin that process for the following year. After that, we gather a list of everything that we've acquired from those meetings and kind of prioritize lists based on different needs. And then the approval process starts. Those meetings are with Darren Clark and Steve Schloman from IT. So we kind of partner up and gather the information together. So a lot of those projects go hand in hand, so I think it's a benefit to do that. So after that, the approval process, we identify contractors and in-house maintenance staff to be able to do the jobs. And then scheduling and planning, and construction begins. We have a unique advantage here at School District Waukesha with the team members that we have in-house. As you see in the list we have here is we have HVAC electricians, plumbing, carpenters, painters, grounds, sub-custodians, custodians in the IT department. A lot of those folks are able to do a lot of these capital improvement projects and assist with the jobs at hand. Some of the advantages with that is project identification, again, meeting with those folks to identify what is actually needed in our buildings. Project coordination with our contractors that we hire out to be able to coordinate. They know the ins and outs of the buildings and what's working, what's not working. So standardization also, trying to keep everything the same throughout the district, so we're not using different controls here and different controls there. Quality control, just monitoring the job as it goes along. And then, like I said, in-house projects. We've been installing flooring, LVP and LVT, luxury vinyl plank and luxury vinyl tile throughout our buildings for the last few years now. So it's been great. It's actually what's out here in the hallway and that you see throughout the schools. This year we focused on Hillcrest, the Rose Glen Gym, and portions of South High School. Previous buildings, you can see a long list of Banting, Hadfield, Hawthorne, Lowell, Stella Elementary School, Blair here, Prairie Higher, Summit View, Meadowbrook, Butler. Butler and Horning have a little bit different of flooring, but we're going to continue throughout the districts, but we've made some significant progress in that over the last few years. LVP, why do we go with it? Labor costs of waxing, stripping and waxing, it's a huge undertaking every summer, and it's become pretty expensive to do so. And buildings can remain open during the summer for the most part, because we're not taking that time to do that work anymore. It's pretty much a scrub and just finish up. So ease of maintenance and replacement, these are all LVP, they're loose lay flooring. It's a glue down type, but it's not actually glued. You can actually lift up damaged tiles. It's not like your typical at your house, the click and lock type LVP. So this is more commercial grade. And then installing walk-off carpet, benefit moisture control, improve safety and aesthetics. We'll go over the LED.
So then, the last, I want to say, like the last 2 years, we've been trying to upgrade our LED lighting, and then also dimmer switches. So we made a nice impact this school year. Buildings that were completed were South High School. We're in the process, actually, I'm sorry. We're in the process at South. Summerview is completed, West is completed, Hatfield is completed, Hawthorne is completed, and Meadowbrook. So we're just going to keep going until we're done. They also, this company switches ceiling tiles into 2x2. It's a lot cleaner, gives it a nicer look. So one of those things, why they're up there, I might as well have them do that too.
It also helps with the sag with humidity over time. You start getting that droop
It just
in
looks
the middle of
clean.
the tiles.
Some of the plumbing upgrades, North Art Room and Home Ec, Rose Glen upgraded septic. They also have a new reverse osmosis system, which is big for Rose Glen. It's going to help with the drinking water. Hillcrest restroom sinks, Summerview plaster traps, and then just really a district-wide Great Lakes water supply compliance upgrades. So we've been getting rebates back from the city on when we remove water softeners. We're also seeing the big savings on the salt, which helps with the added cost. But so far, so good. Some of the electrical upgrades, like I said, the LED clocks and speakers at Bethesda, Meadowbrook, and Rose Glen. Some of the classroom remodels we did at South, so it was an IT room. We partnered with the IT department. And then a lot of kitchen upgrades district-wide. And then just trying to support the IT department with their smart boards, TVs, and the different equipment that they have to put in. Here's one of the big ones. So South High School, the HVAC upgrades. It's really amazing what's going on up there. But added cooling in the field house, weight room, and lobby. New chiller for the Kmart wing. Air handlers for the media center and ceramics, and then a new kiln exhaust. Something that I really think is pretty cool is this is our department. We had got a quote, I want to say, about 2 years ago to redo the classroom ventilators, and it was, I want to say it was like $230,000. The guys spent the summer, they went in, basically replaced everything on the inside, cleaned it. We work with a company for a new grill. So if you see in some of these pictures, the before and the after, and just the look in the hallways, it's unreal. And our guys did that. Some more HVAC upgrades, part of the work that we did at Prairie, so we put a new generator in there. Hawthorne, we commissioned the systems. North, new office AC. And then West, we replaced a lot of the exhaust on the roof. So that was, basically that was a partnership with us and then Total Mechanical. District-wide kitchen equipment, new combi ovens. So North, South, West, Butler, Les Paul, and Rose Glen and higher got all new ovens. Banting got their sensory floor. We wanted to have it in last year, but it took a little while. It's different, different type of tile, and then everything's kind of custom made, so finally went in. Looks great, and I think it's going to give that added benefit to the kids, the sound, and just when kids are dysregulated, for, they're attracted to that floor, so, and it, I don't know what it is, but it works. Banting entrance, concrete, so if you see in the pictures, wasn't too good. And then you see the after, which is nice. It's inviting.
The rain actually helps that out.
Yeah.
Helps the before picture out. So,
Some of the safety and security upgrades, clock speakers, like I said before, at Bethesda, Rose Glen, and Meadowbrook. Segmentation doors at Bethesda. It was a long time coming. We were able to figure that out. So happy about that one. And then rekeying at North High School. So in-house, we went through, cleaned up all the keys, just made sure there wasn't any out there laying around. So everything was rekeyed, and the people that needed the keys have those keys now. So not everybody just has a general master to get wherever they want to go. Higher, got new playground pavement. It's pretty cool. And then, so I did one side, and then next summer we'll look at the other side. This one happened over, I want to say it was Christmas break, but falls into this capital improvement, the higher kitchen upgrade. So really, we didn't knock down any walls. A lot of it was flooring, new equipment, and then basically, like the table in the middle, they used to have a wooden table. So just kind of an upgrade there, which is nice for them. Hillcrest, they got, and it's kind of a, this is what I envision, like kindergarten classrooms. So there was 2 classrooms that we did. Faith was nice enough to let me collaborate with her and look at some of this stuff. So it ended up coming out great. We did 2 kindergarten classrooms there. If you ever get a chance, go by and see them. They're beautiful. They come out. This is kind of like what I would look forward to in the future with some of these classrooms.
yeah, we have a dream of standardizing. Every teacher has their own twist of things and an instructional method, but to get to some level of standardization of what to expect in a classroom is our goal, but
Yeah.
obviously we have to work through the principals, et cetera.
Yep. Hillcrest got all new flooring throughout, except for the classrooms. If they had the carpet, it stayed. We haven't gone fully in on the LVT in all the classrooms yet, so she has, I want to say it's the 2 kindergarten and then the art room. So we haven't had any schools completely done yet, but we've been trying different grade levels, see how it works, and different chairs and different stuff, so to make sure it's going to last. So slowly but surely, we've been getting there. Hillcrest and new gym floor. Come out beautiful. Hillcrest, new backboards. Rose Glen, a new gym floor. Prairie got new front steps. We were getting calls left and right over there. The stairs are in bad condition, so it doesn't show the railings in the picture now, but the railings are there. But it's a nice look for the front of the building. It's inviting, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. I want people to be proud of these schools, and as they're walking in, like first impressions, so, you'll see as I go, I'm just going to keep on focusing on that. Summit View, they got the new LED lights and ceiling. West Paul, lots of new flooring. It's not complete yet. I want to say we have about 1 floor and, about 1.5 floors to go. It's been a challenge just because the building was so old, and so we didn't want to, just go in and demo everything because we didn't know what we were going to find. So we were just kind of taking it room by room. But so far, so good, and it looks great. West High School got the new LED lights and ceiling tile. You can see side-by-side comparison of that yellowish compared to the new lights. West High School locker room upgrades. So the floors are in need of repair. And really a cost-effective way to do it was, we had a company come in, they grind the floors down for us, but then we have our in-house team paint and put the epoxy down, and it just gives it a great look. Also kind of did the same thing in the kitchen. So you'll see the new epoxy floor, new paint, some new equipment, and West High School is probably, it was the only one that didn't get done out of the high schools. So over time, I'll just keep on adding new equipment and getting them up to the latest. South High School painting, so we did a building-wide painting, painted lockers, painted the walls. It was a lot, but the team, they did great. Saved a ton of money by us painting the lockers. It was actually the second time that it's been done. The one on the left was 25 years ago. It was the same person that did it. But it just gives it a good look with the black and just the paint. Everything kind of flows. So it's looking really good up there. South High School flooring. So at the end of, with the construction that we had going on there, at the end of the last school year, we had a lot of concerns about asbestos. And rightfully so. You know, people, they were concerned what's going on. So I took the opportunity this summer to try to abate as much as I could, to just get it out of there so we don't have to worry about it. Nobody's worrying, thinking about it. So we went with the LVT in most spots, and it looks great. It just flows with the colors, and it's the same color as out there, but it comes along. Come a long way. It looks great. So. South High School, new LED lights and sail and tile. It's not complete yet, but if you look at the cafeteria, it looks like it's, you know, brand new. Just a couple little things here and there, and it brings a lot of life back to it. South High School, so we're doing a ADA ramp in the front. Actually, I want to say it was last year at some time, Maria called us up there. One of the school clubs wanted to do something for a student because they realized, you know, there was a need for a ramp, and they had raised $800, and you know, they wanted me to go on Amazon and see, you know, try to find them a ramp. So I sat down with them. Chad was there, and just kind of explained to them it was more than that. So kind of just working with them and through the process, and keeping them in the loop, and starting to come to fruition. So we're just waiting on some railings, the concrete to set, and that should be pretty much a goal by I want to say the 15th of this month.
This has been a topic, it's been requested for the last few years, and we had a hard time getting a layout that would work to comply with ADA. And really the need for this really came about when we put the addition on. The old offices on the front of the building there became special ed suites. So all of a sudden you had that population without a ramp or easy access or egress point.
Yep.
So this took us a few years to figure it out, but it's a
Yep.
one that I know South will be pleased to have.
Yeah, it's a big win. And even for, you know, events at night too in the auditorium, now you have access. You don't have to go around the building. Meadowbrook front entrance, so that went in. It looks great up there. Some of the carpentry projects and painting, F-050 at West. There's another one, IT was going to do an upgrade in there and approached us on that and see if, you know, we could work together, and it come out great. On the right-hand side, these are art tables, tech ed tables, and at the end of last year, we had schools looking to purchase new ones or asking if we could do anything with them, and the guys took them in, refinished them, and they look amazing, so saved us quite substantial amount of money. You want to take it?
Looking ahead, again, like I said, this October, we're going to be meeting with the principals again, custodial maintenance staff, and kind of gathering that input with what needs to be done. We're going to identify the project needs, priorities, and scope. move through the established review process, like I explained in the beginning, and then continue our consistent and transparent approach about it. And then this year, we'll have to incorporate some decisions connected to optimizing our future.
So we are planning obviously depending on whatever the board decides to do with optimizing the future, it'll probably be a lighter summer of projects, because really our project might be just reorganization of the district itself. So this presentation next year could be significantly smaller, but we'll see where all that goes. But the good thing is we gather that information, so we keep a running total and we go back. And the nice thing that we've kind of, besides bringing Steve into the fold for those conversations, is we review what we've done the year before with the principals, because they tend to forget. You know, you haven't been here in a while, you haven't done anything, and then we go through it, and, but we have that live list, and we prioritize it every year with them, and it's really become a pretty slick process.
Good. Mrs. Voigt?
This is amazing to see the great work that you've done. Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Dr. Piasek?
Thank you both for the update. Bunch of things. Remind me the name of our master carpenter that's part of your team.
Ron Ficaro?
Ron.
Yep.
His work is amazing. High quality, long lasting, safe,
Yep.
pretty beautiful, whatever we want to call it. But we're so fortunate to have him and also your team wrapped around him. So thank you for all of that. It's just exciting to see all the new creations and things that we probably wouldn't have the capacity to have without what he does. The flooring work that you guys have been doing and lighting work has been incredible. It's been going on for several years, I know, but you've really become very skilled at it, and it's just such a huge improvement to get new floors and lighting in a room. And then what you've done with the gyms, you know, being part of the district for a very long time, it's just amazing to see the transformation in our gymnasiums from, you know, the cold terrazzo, you know,
Yep.
tile to spaces that are athletic spaces, but also cafeterias, and then the work that you're doing in the kitchen. So it's just amazing. The behind the scenes stuff, like cleaning the ventilation systems and things, it's just attention to detail. But those are things that people don't always get super excited about, but when we see what that does to an environment, so just the improvement overall to those environments that all of our kids get to have the opportunity to benefit from is just so greatly appreciated. So thank you for all of that.
Quick story on that. Actually, when you gave us the opportunity to use that ESSA money for all the vent cleaning and all that, so one of the guys now we hired him from that company. So he has the expertise on, you know, how to clean this stuff, and they're looking at different things. So that was another added benefit.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mr. Harlan?
Thank you all for you and your team's hard work. You can definitely see that you take great pride in the work that you were doing across the district. I have a question in terms of sorry, I'm trying to find the process slide. Prioritizing requested projects. Can you kind of walk us through, do you have a specific guidelines that you're working through? And is it just projects for this upcoming year, or do you list out projects that might be 3 to 5 years
So
out?
the goal, just to answer that real quick, the goal, once we know the footprint, and I've already been working on it, my team's been working on it. If you go in my office, there's the 5-year plan. So whatever, once the optimizing is over, I'm gonna take that, what's left, and then just look at if there's any needs right away to, you know, upgrade schools or what we have to do there. But then when that's all said and done, I plan on giving the district and the board, you know, a solid 5-year plan across the board of what we need financially, you know, where we need to be. You know, like I said, I could do that now, but it doesn't really make sense because of the unknowns. So once I know, my team's ready, and like I said, we already have a list kind of mapped out where we want to go, HVAC, doors, you name it, plumbing. You know, everybody has a hand in it. So that's how that went. When we meet with the principals, obviously, safety and security goes to the top of the list, always. And then we just go through and kind of just talk with them. A lot of times when we talk with them, some of the stuff that they think is a capital improvement project is actually just a work order for us. So sometimes before we even leave the meeting, things are already happening. You know, as we're talking, Chad would be on just putting the work orders in and different things. So it's kind of helping them understand, nope, this is a work order, this is capital improvement. And we'd like to, you know, I would say it's like a 50-50 what the principals want, and then some of the things that I see that, no, we really need to do this before, you know, I know you want your auditorium, but I need to put a roof, you know. So it's kind of some of those things that go back and forth, but usually it's a good partnership, and usually the principal sees what we see. And I would say it's been a pretty cool experience, and especially with the work order stuff with the guys are doing in-house that, you know, if we don't know, we can't fix it. So when we're sitting there talking to those principals and, yeah, this is really bothering me, this is, you know, we could take care of that for you, you know, and then we're able to explain it, you know, work order as opposed to capital improvement, so.
One thing about our meetings, though, we've noticed, especially last year, was the lists are getting shorter, noticeably shorter. And you see it when you walk the buildings, but now you actually see it with people who are in the buildings every single day, you know, seeing the buildings used every way a school is used. And there's definitely progress being made. I think all the principals would agree with that. The other thing that we started doing, we talked about it a little more last year, was coming out of COVID, we started, 10 years ago when we were developing projects, we went through the phase where every school had to get the same amount of work every year. Well, you end up with little islands of improvements, and I don't think that ended up being the best approach. But coming out of COVID, we agreed that, and we've done it at the elementary schools, we shut them down. Like we go in and we do everything just uniformly, and you think that it's going to take you forever, but you can see by these lists with the lightings and the ceilings, that work quickly gets, time just shows how fast time goes, I suppose, but to have these lists, and Kelly touched on the gyms. Remember, we've talked gyms for years, and now I think every one of our elementary gyms that doesn't have a wood floor has the new flooring, and 6-7 years ago to think that we would be that far just on that one topic, but it's the same with the lighting and everything else. It's really been impressive, the work that has been done.
Mr. Wad?
Yeah, thanks, guys. I look forward to this presentation every year. The work you guys do is great. And I love the story we're able to tell about how much we can save because we've got the expertise in-house to be able to do so much of that work. I think one of the things that also needs to be part of the story is I can't tell you the number of times that I'll look at referendums that are being passed in districts in other places, and this is the type of work that people are having to have their taxes increased for, and the fact that we're able to do it and be able to do it within the budget that we have without having to pass operational referendums to do it, I think is also a big testament to you and your team and to the way the district manages these things. So, thank you.
Yeah, I share the same sentiment. This is truly every year remarkable. And when you think of how many slides we were going through, it was almost never ending as to how much you accomplished in such a short amount of time. I mean, when we're talking about the work that's done during the summer, this is extremely impressive. There's a couple things that I do want to highlight, or at least ask a question on, because it was not too long ago that the district really ran the maintenance program for our facilities in a much leaner fashion. And I think when we made the commitment, part of this was about 3 years ago, Darren, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but as part of our KPIs for facilities, we specifically said that as part of our annual budget, X amount needs to be dedicated to the maintenance, the upkeep, and the presentation of where we're putting our staff and students. And this, when you see over a course of 3 years, what we've been able to do by being able to effectively manage our own funds within our own people, and the talent that you see is just a huge benefit to everyone in there. And so I would reiterate that. The second piece is just kind of talking through we do all of this work. There was still a significant amount of the work that was done this summer that was covered by ESSER funds, and specifically with South High School. And I don't think we celebrated that enough, because this is a school that now has air conditioning, and, you know, for many of us who have had to sit through those graduations at 9 a.m. by 9:30, I mean, you're really hot.
Yep.
And I think to see what we've done and been able to do is absolutely so rewarding. You guys you're truly just an amazing group, and we're very blessed to have you
Thank you.
for that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I just want to add, it goes both ways too, because my team sees that the board wants to be able to put money back into the facilities. It makes them want to work harder, because they know that, okay, if we bring this and we show them, that we're actually be able to do this stuff. So we appreciate it too.
Yeah, if you get a chance, the work that we did at South, and we should also do a shout out to the custodial staff, because all those rooms that we emptied and then had to move it and then move the stuff again and then move it, as you're coordinating and working your way through the project. They lead and close out these projects as well. But South has just happened to be this summer's big example of the coordination it takes between all of us to get this to run as smoothly. I think I shared in the board update a few weeks back, kind of the breakout of the planning that was going in out there. But that's a great example of the total team over at the service building and out at the sites working together, because you can guarantee come, I don't know, August 3rd, the principals start getting this look in their eye like, you guys are never going to be ready. Right? You pretty much set your watch to it. And maybe it's not always perfect, but it's 99% there, and school, and you never hear about it, right? So kudos to everyone out there in the Buildings and Grounds Department, because it is truly a team effort, because 10 weeks isn't that long. That's pretty much what we get every summer.
So my last question, and I think I asked this last year, on the face of the water bills, and so I hear a lot about the water costs going up specifically for the city. Are we seeing that at all?
I haven't really looked at that lately. I can bring that back as a Friday update, if that's all right.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see, because
think-
I'm listening to the community try to figure out how to navigate this, and I'm wondering how much of this is actually impacting the district buildings.
Yeah, there's certainly been increases. I just didn't want to give out a number or anything, because I don't know off the top of my head. But there's also been new fees related to fire hydrants and things like that. So to bring you a total picture of what those increases be, just like a little time on that. But there definitely has been an increase in cost. But again, there's some offsets, like Kyle mentioned, that the water softeners are going away and those types of things.
And that's the other, I mean, just working with the water utility department, Matt over there and Ryan, they've been great, because there's so many things that come with it, and outside companies that, want to inspect this and want to inspect that. But just the water utility, they've just been absolutely great to work with, because they understand it. There's a lot of buildings, a lot of different, older buildings. So they've taken the time to just, kind of walk us through it and just make sure that we're doing everything right. So water utility, that's another great partnership with the city that, I don't know what we'd do without, because we'd be scratching our heads, okay, now what do we have to do, and now what do we have to do? So they're great to work with.
Great. Any other questions, Dr. Piasek?
I have one. It's a little peripheral, but I think it's relevant to this. Has your team, or how much has your team been involved with any of the work that the city's been doing on the stormwater stuff at North? Like, have you had follow-on steps, or is there anything that's been part of your summer work or that's coming with that?
So we have, grounds department, Corey Thompson over there, and then just kind of the grounds in general, just been monitoring, just making sure that they're ready to go when it comes time, when we can start watering. It seemed like, that was another one where I'm like, is this gonna get done? And then all of a sudden, boom.
Boom.
They're laying out the straw and seeding. So it's been a lot of back and forth, and just, with the city department, Jonathan and Callie, just great communication. Just back and forth, hey, this is coming, what about this? They know our schedules, they know the football games, they know the graduation, stuff like that. So it's, really not so much on our guys, but just the communication and our grounds and the school. It's been great.
Yeah, we had regular meetings set up with them
once a week at
I was
least.
to say, going back, I don't remember how long now, but also Eric, the AD out there, and Tom, the principal, keeping us up to date, because they, their things change too, right? We don't always know, and they don't always know. And I think it's gone pretty well. I think we had to reschedule a few events.
Yeah,
But
and
but once it got to the home games, I'm gonna say maybe the second week of athletics being going on, we locked in and we met with the city and the contractors and said, all right, we can't be moving, our bigger events away from north. So, and we figured it out.
Oh, and even youth football is using it. Youth football was kind of like one of the first ones to go, which I was, but it worked out great, and I reached out to the, I forget his name, I'm sorry, but the person that was in charge of that youth football program, and just expectations, and they were great, and they were like, okay, we understand, and I think they could see what the future's gonna bring them over in that area, so.
So we hope to have the 15th.
15th is, yep, start watering.
Start watering out there, so that's the
Awesome.
target.
Did we have any significant disruptions or hassles for attendees of the football game at North this past Friday? I think that was their first home game.
Well, so I actually, just knowing that, and I had met earlier in the day with Eric and Tom, and the crew, so I just put, and it's not just because of that, anytime there's a football game for a custodian, it's kind of chaotic, because they're pulled back and forth. So we just gave them a little extra support, out there, and just, an extra guy or two, and then just, extra lighting, so we could light up, where the construction was being done, so we could keep an eye on if any kids are over there.
Yeah, that,
Waukesha Police, I think there was an extra two cruises there, but, I was worried about it, but everything turned out good, except for the score.
yeah, right. Yeah, that was my next question, and I think you've answered it, which was, I know it's not uncommon for kids that attend the game, younger kids, to be kind of off, either back on that baseball field or other places. And I just wanted to make sure we felt that we had a good handle on making
yeah.
sure that we didn't have any issues there either.
Yep, we had extra fencing up. We just did a lot of snow fence just on our, like the borders, and then just lit it up so we could see everything.
Great.
Yeah, I can't say enough about Eric out there. He's been excellent to work with. Totally got the vision for, it's going to be worth it in the end. Every project has its pain points, I guess, but he's been just fantastic with communication, not only back and forth with us, but I think with the North community from what I'm hearing. So kudos to him.
Not seen anything else. Truly, this is a great presentation, and it's so rewarding to see all of the hard work you do. Like, sincerely, please pass on high five, fist bumps, whatever it is to your team. Make sure they understand that how appreciated, and their work is just outstanding. It's really nice.
I should also add, I had him take 12 slides out.
Send them over, we want to see it.
So,
Thanks, guys.
yep, thanks, guys.
Darren, just real quick, one last thing. Is there any way to quantify what we believe we're saving with the talent we have in-house as opposed to having to contract that out?
We haven't come up with a way to do it. Normally, it's sampling like the projects that Kyle mentioned where it's HVAC work and we get a quote, right? It's side by side. And we've tracked hours before and things like that to do it for specific projects. But overall, for every desk and every cabinet that Ronnie's making, which is hundreds and hundreds, we've never really, it's one of those savings where you just know it's there. But we also know what that cabinet or table costs, and it's significant savings. It's furniture especially has just gotten to be so expensive.
They just made there was a step stool for a special education student, and one of the special, I think Lisa Lorenz, I think her name is, she had reached out and said, hey, we see this, but it's so expensive. He's like, I'll build it, and it looks better than what it,
Yeah.
a fraction.
In another word, well, this is the one we have out there, it's just been over our head. If you go into the elementary schools where all those sinks are in the classrooms, I don't know how many cabinets around those sinks we need to replace in this district, but it's hundreds. And every one of those little cut-ins are a little different sized. So Ronnie's really gonna have to almost measure them uniquely to get it to fit perfectly into these openings because, not everything's square and plumb and everything. So you don't get that with Han, you don't get that with whoever out there. So there's a savings there, I just couldn't quantify it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, our next discussion item for this evening is the 2025-2026 budget development.
Just a second here. Should be projecting. So I just wanted to go over, a lot of this is what you heard last month, but with the budget hearing coming up Wednesday night at 6 o'clock here at the boardroom, as a friendly reminder, I thought we'd just kind of go over the highlights and talk a little bit briefly at the beginning here about why do we have a budget hearing? What's the purpose of it? And then just go over some very high-level budget assumptions and what we're looking at. Again, coming up, third Friday's only 11 days away, so that'll be a big chunk of information for several conversations going on in the district now. And I called this agenda item budget development rather than budget hearing because I was afraid they'd think it was the budget hearing. So I'll just walk through this very quickly. And again, I think a lot of this is repetitive, but I thought for the sake of just making people aware of the meeting that we'd spend just a couple of minutes on it. So I believe you got your nice bright yellow. I like the bright colors because I have a very messy desk generally and it sticks out. So here's the document. There's more information in here than when you approve the preliminary budget, but it's background historical information like past levies and EAV and all that. So that's been added. And obviously we incorporated in this preliminary budget, we brought this to you in August. Not everything that was in the state budget got incorporated, but the bigger funding things, the major pieces are in there. But once we get the third Friday count, Heather and I will go through and be fine tuning this for our final adoption come October. But it's on the district's website as a PDF, and if people have questions, the budget hearing isn't the only time for the community to have a chance to reach out to me and ask questions, or anyone in my office, so my email's included. The budget hearing, to me, there's two primary purposes. One's transparency and accountability. We are required to hold a budget hearing and provide the residents a chance to provide feedback on the budget and where we are. So this is our best guess as to what the final budget will look like. And we talked about this last month, and I think it was also mentioned at last month's board meeting. The other part of it is continuation of operations. We're in our third month of our fiscal year already, and we have basically 2 more months to go before we'll have a final budget. So we can't wait for you to approve the final budget to start paying people and things like that. The lights still need to be on, those types of things. So there is a requirement that some approval should be made to authorize us to go ahead with those expenditures. And again, that budget hearing or that preliminary budget provides that. So it kind of all rolls together in September, and then we move forward into October. So again, I'll just go over this quickly. You have your budget book now. This kind of just outlines the information that's within it, a couple years of actual expenditures and revenue. The 24-25 information that's in here is not audited and goes back to where we were in late July. So I'll keep that in mind. And then you have the revenue limit calculation, and then we'll talk about the tax levy here in a second. So again, we based this budget on the best available information. I think the biggest thing that came out of the state budget was the decrease in equalization aid that we're projecting now for the district. DPI every July 1st has to come out with an estimate. And that estimate's based on a district's prior year budgeted costs. So that's the best information they have at the time. But again, as we talked about at length last month, we're looking at a almost $5.9 million drop in state aid for the 25-26 school year. We spent a lot of time talking about enrollment for the revenue limit, and it's resident enrollment. With Optimizing the Future, we're talking about on-site enrollment, but this is a count we do once a year to count the number of resident kids within our boundaries. And we are looking once again at a 2% decline in that calculation. count, sorry. The state budget did continue the $325 of additional revenue authority per resident student to the district, so that's been factored into the preliminary budget. We've also adjusted, but we'll fine tune this for the final, the increase in special education reimbursement. The rate for budget purposes is going to go from 30% up to 39%. I believe the advertised talking point number at the state level was 42%, but once actual expenditures across the state from the, come rolling in, that percentage of reimbursement comes down because it's a set pool of money. And, but the expenditures aren't a set amount, so there's some fluctuation between projected versus what will actually increase. Property valuation, we put a 5% increase in there. I believe that's our 10-year average. I think it's going to come in a little higher than that, but that doesn't change our revenue picture. That just changes the tax rate calculation. But it is, you know, it's a number of people, when you get to the tax rate, it's a number of people reference, even though I would argue maybe it's not the best tax conversation. And then a major accomplishment, and we've talked a lot about this, is us making and scheduled and budgeted for the final debt payment to be made this coming April of '26 to close out all long-term debt for the school district. As I said, we've talked a lot about enrollment and the different types of enrollment we have, but this is the basic school funding. If you could reduce it down to one slide, this is from pupil count all the way down to calculating the tax levy. The revenue limit authority per student is at $11,650. The state budget is, so that's a set number. There's no more guessing at what that might be. But that third Friday count in just over a week from now really does the math for us. All of a sudden, it all starts coming together. And then once you get your revenue limit authority, the state equalization aid, which won't be certified until October 15th, allows you to calculate your tax levy. So we're still guesstimating on what that's going to be. That July 1 estimate, I can guarantee you the one number it's not going to be is exactly what the July 1 estimate, unless, I mean, it'd be like getting struck by lightning basically for that to happen. So in our membership count, this is what we're looking at, and again, it shows that decline, and that decline goes out many years beyond what I'm showing in this slide, but resident count looking at 10,854 students. And I put in there just as at the bottom there, just as a benchmark to measure from. The 13-14 exact same count was 13,071 students. To show that decline that we've spent a lot of time talking about. And I've probably showed this graph on 80% of my presentations, but it's also shows that same trend line moving down. So again, going to our debt, and we've scheduled this drop, and it's really going to help us out offset that loss of state aid in terms of the total tax levy. But just our Fund 39 levy, which is what we levy to make our debt or mortgage type payment, for 25-26, you're looking at, you know, 5.7 or $6 million drop, and we thought at the time that would be enough to protect us from some outcome at the state budget level, but it's not going to overcome that based on what DPI's estimate is. We also get a step down when looking at the 26-27, so that levy for Fund 39 will go to zero, down from 2.3 million, so there's a mini step that following year. At the time we kind of put this approach in place, we really thought, oh, we might get 2 levy drops in a row, but I cannot promise you that at this time. And here's just the levy. You can see the equalization. I presented a draft in June of a budget, and I just said, well, let's assume that state aid stays flat from the prior year. It's $63.8 million. DPI's estimate came in July at 57.9. You can see the inverse relationship with the levy. So we went from projecting like a 3.6% decrease to a 3.7% increase. And that does not provide us any more money. That is the exact same money. It's just a matter of the funding mechanisms to get that to us.
Can I ask a quick question at this point? So I know one of the things I see every year on my property tax bill is something called a school levy tax credit. Now, my understanding, if I understand it correctly, is that isn't anything that's factored into how we levy, but it will ultimately reduce the overall property tax bill for individual homeowners. Do we ever have any idea what that amount is going to be in a given year, whether it's going up or down compared to the year before?
We know the pool of money that's involved. It's a hard thing to talk about because it's like, as you mentioned, it's not in our books. It's an offset on your tax bill. I wish they would run it. They run so many other things through our books. I wish they would allow that credit to go through. But it's a difficult number. I mean, I've always just looked at the pool of money and what the percent change is and just applied it. That's been my,
So, but that appears nowhere in the calculations you're showing
Absolutely
us,
not.
right? Do we know if that pool of money went up or down this coming year?
it went up. I know someone who does.
I was gonna say, I think someone at the table may know, but I don't wanna put her on the spot if she's not prepared to answer.
This is one of my favorite topics. I've actually been studying this now for several years.
Yep. I'm the second smartest person in the district related to this topic.
It is a fascinating thing because each municipality also reflects it differently on the property tax bill. So if you live in Pewaukee, there's a little box that says your school tax levy has been decreased by this amount. If you live in Waukesha, it's just removed. And so it really depends on, or in some others, it's actually shown as a credit. So there is a pool of money at the state level. Another thing that is really interesting about it is that the school levy taxes, the equalization piece is based on the fair market value of your property, but the distribution of the school levy tax credit is based on the relative assessment value. And so what happens is, one municipality will assess and then the other will do it the next year. And so there's this movement of assessments. So the property taxes are based on fair market value, which is an estimate based on comparable properties. But this is based on the relative assessment values. And so it does kind of move from year to year. And the amount of the credit, for example, if you live in the city of Pewaukee and you're in the Waukesha or the Pewaukee School District, that actual rate is going to be different because it's an equalization amount based on other properties in your district. So it's very, very complicated. But the pool does go up. That doesn't mean that any individual taxpayer is, just like when assessments change or whatever.
So fluid.
But it does look to be comparable to what we're seeing in terms of the flat rate on the per pupil. And so there are things that were adjusted on the state aid, where that was actually held flat, but then the school levy tax credit went up. And so there is some balance between those things, but the typical taxpayer will see an increase in the levy that then is offset to some degree by the school levy tax credit, and we can't predict what that is.
Right, so that becomes a surprise when we get our property tax bill in November or December, whenever we get it, right?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate because if we knew that was going to offset some of the costs for our taxpayers, we might be able to soften the blow of the fact that we're having to do this levy increase this coming year.
Yeah, and no one, even for people where you do have it broken out on your tax bill, people still go to the school district of Waukesha line item.
Yeah.
And that's the conversation. The frustrating thing for me, and because it is a complicated thing, is they have computer aid, personal property aid, other offsets to the levy that we run through our books. And I don't know the timing and what they all use, but to me, there's no reason why they can't run that. Saying they certify all of our other aid, and why they don't call that credit aid or whatever they want to call it and run it through our books so we could actually talk to people about it. I'm not sure the rationale that went into that.
Thank you.
And again, we've talked about the tax levy, so here's the summary that's in your booklet as well. And we look at the percentage increase that we're presenting. Again, we don't know until third Friday pupil count's done, our property evaluation in terms of the rate comes in, and then the certification of aid on October 15th, but this is our best guess. So we're looking at 3.77% increase. Tax rate continues to drop just because valuation has gotten so big that it's just a different number than it was 10 years ago because of the growth in the value of property. So we're doing 5%. I think it could be 7%, somewhere in that range. Just like looking at some rough calculations. So that's it in a nutshell. Again, you have your booklet. The rest of the board members, it's in docs and everything, but the rest of the board members, I'll hand this out on Wednesday night for them. And then we'll see what happens. So this is our expenditure and revenue budget in total for all of our funds. Total expenditures of 227,000, or thousand. What's 3 decimal places? 227 million. Revenue of 217 million. The difference there is mainly the paying off of the debt. We have reserves in Fund 39, and we're just adding the $2.3 million of additional levy. But next year, again, Fund 39, that line item, it'll still be represented, but there'll be no revenue and expenditures because we'll be at zero. So that's the biggest reason why we have what looks like a $10 million deficit budget being approved. That's not really the case. So any questions on, and here are the next steps. We've talked about them going forward. The hearing will be a couple days. Third Friday counts the 19th. We'll meet in October to present any levy updates we have. We won't have equalization aid yet, though. And then we wrap it all up on October 29th with final budget and levy approval.
Dr. Piasek?
We have had the last couple of years where something has shifted significantly between the initial projection of aid and the final certified aid, at least for the last few years.
Say
To the
last
tune
couple
of
years,
at
for
least
sure.
close to $1 million.
Good and bad, right?
Good and bad,
Yep.
yeah. I know we realistically have no sense of what could happen there, but if history repeats itself, some of that is related to movement of big districts and decisions made with respect to their eligibility for some elements of aid. But, so I guess, well, we have to have the budget hearing per statute. Nothing is final until we get into that certification.
No, I would
period.
agree. It's always been the hardest thing to project out. It's not as simple as state funding went up 3%, so my aid from last year is going to go up 3%. It's never that. And now with the size of referendums and things like that being approved, it's even gotten to be a wilder ride to certification.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. Moving into our next discussion item is the monthly budget report.
I have handed out a budget report to each of you because it did change just a little bit from last week. I was able to get some additional information that I wanted to share with you this evening. In relation to the infrastructure, you heard the Kyle and Chad here this evening about South High School. We did have a large bill that we paid out to Total Mechanical for the work that they are doing over there. The 25-26 budget that Darren has just referenced, it will be loaded, actually, the preliminary will be loaded by the end of September into Skyward, into our financial system. And then, of course, the final will be approved by the end of October and then entered in Skyward in November. Our staffing costs, after the second payroll in September, will begin running salary projections for year-end of 25-26 and seeing where that comes in. There was another larger payment that was made for Spanish curriculum adoption for from CLET World Language that you will see also on the voucher listing. And there was a smaller purchase made specific to French as well that I just wanted to note that was related to student and teacher needs that Teaching and Learning made the choice to move forward with the purchase of.
And I just want to step in on those. So
Yes.
this was my question that I actually had talked to Ms. Gunnerman about and making sure that, because from our perspective, when you're crossing things, a lot of the controls that we try to do is ensuring that our big expenditures are properly approved, right? So that the spending doesn't happen before the approval. And in this particular case, the Spanish versions of this, they were approved through the normal chains of the processes. And the French programs are not a new curriculum, it's an additional for additional student support.
Yes.
So a couple different pieces with that,
And I think part of that confusion was how I had it labeled based on the information I had found, so.
which was perfect. But that was my first question is especially for I think the initial piece when we're talking, I'm like, I don't remember approving that. Now, that doesn't mean that didn't
Understood.
happen, but, so I appreciate the clarity.
Absolutely. We did in August receive the final 24-25 tax payments as well. And then additionally, just wanted to bring a note to you guys about the federal funds. Our ESEA and IDEA allocations have come in for this year, and there's been quite a few fluctuations since the 2020-21 school year, and we are about level to where we were back then with the amount of money that we're receiving for allocations.
A lot of swings between then and now, so we just thought we'd point out we're kind of back where we were, finally.
Any questions?
I have one, and probably flows into just future topics. I think just looking at the federal funds, it would be helpful if we could maybe revisit. I know about a year ago, we had some discussion about what the different title funds are that we receive. If we could maybe come back and look at that again, just so that we understand what percentage of the budget that's affecting and what areas we're getting funding in.
Sure.
'Cause I know there's a broader national discussion about that still.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you know this, but if you look at the actual report out of our there's not a lot of financial activity going on right now. Well, now, September's here, but the rest of the time. But we do get revenue during that time, but a lot of it's been booked in the prior year, so you're not going to see it on the GL reports. It takes a few months for us to kind of get going again in terms of revenue and expenditures in September, for sure.
So to Darren's point, you'll see an F&F month-to-date budget report out there now. I'll be preparing that each month for you guys to see just a little bit of a different perspective of how we have not only a comparison month to month, but then also month to last year and percentages also.
Perfect.
In comparison to the budget.
I think that's great. Any other questions? Okay, so moving into other business, recommendations for future committee meetings. Obviously, we've got Dr. Piaseks to break out. My recommendation, Heather, was to actually put that in your budget narrative that we go through next month, or as we do it for the budget pieces, just to have it. Are there any other recommendations? Mrs. Voigt?
Yes, I'd like the Finance and Facilities Committee to look at the recommended sixth grade move to the elementary buildings, which will open spaces to relocate STEM Saratoga East and the 18 to 21-year-old program, potentially for the 25-26 school year.
Okay, so this is the second time you've made this recommendation, which is outside of the broader process, which is an entire agenda item at the full board meeting, which we can keep that within the discussions for optimizing my future. It does not belong at FNF, not for the grand scope of where we're at with the grander picture. I've made that clear the last time.
I would agree. I don't understand why we would take this at the committee level when we have a broader, community level conversation happening. And there are plans that have that in there, right?
Is it feasible to do it next year, is my question. Just the feasibility of that kind of, the cost analysis, et cetera, of making that happen.
I feel like that's fully agendized in the optimizing our future line item. You don't think that's in scope?
I'm hearing a lot of people saying that they don't want to go through with any of the plans that are presented without a long-term consideration, like an impact study per se. And I'd hate to see us hung up on not being able to start any of the optimization activities until we can actually approve like a long-range plan, per se.
Okay, so the Optimizing Our Future is the long-range plan. We've been working on this from start to finish. It will be 18 months. The discussion and the tactical approach as to what the board ultimately decides to move forward, part of that process is to talk about the tactical approach on all of these things. I mean, I think we've spoken to this quite honestly, ad nauseum as to where we're going. It does not belong in the committee. On that, we do have a need to go into closed session. Darren, correct me, but I don't think we need to come back out, correct?
Nope.
So looking at that, I would need someone to motion us in, please. Mr. Wad?
I would move to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub E for deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business wherever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This is related to the employee clinic contract.
Second.
Okay, motioned by Mr. Wad, seconded by Mr. Harlan. Tanya, can you please take the roll call?
Aye.
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 We are officially in closed session. We return